Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, just before I started this, another little bit of disaster sprung up. The phone, my camera, is set up on a tripod. Yes, the tripod is held together by blue tack because its telescopic parts are kind of collapsed in on themselves. And no matter how much you screw them together, make them tight to reach a certain height, they don't do it anymore. But I managed to hold it all together and it works. Now, the clasp to put the camera in, which is adjustable, the top clasp is on springs, so you can put a big, massive, old style phone in there if you want, or a bigger camera, whatever. Put it in there, picked it up to adjust it, snap the top of it off. So there's just some naked springs. Well, they're just screws actually, which are sitting there now. So once again, your trusty old blue tack is here to the rescue, and it's anchoring the phone and the camera in right now. So we see how we go. Now, folks, I've had a Hobbit style day today. I had a great big breakfast, a great big mammoth jumbo sausage butty for breakfast. Oh, it was fantastic. It was pure Chubbsville, big fat, gorgeous. And afterwards, a bit more peckish. I had a Hobbit second breakfast, had a bit of toast, and between you and me, a little chunk of cheese as well. I don't know why I was that hungry, but I was. So that was then. Now my daughter, who's a fantastic cook, she made a gorgeous pasta tuna, creamy pasta tuna, cauldron full of stuff. And she makes enough for two, because she feeds her old man as well. So I've had the big sausage butty, toast and a hunk of cheese, and now a great big, I got the pan, she got a bowl of it. She goes, Dad, the rest that's for you. There's a big pan full of all this stuff. Wow. So I'm feeling really fat, old and ugly, but surprisingly happy at the same time. So anyway, folks, why have I convened you here today? Well, it's kind of like a forthcoming. We're going to talk about this, but this is going to be a sort of prelim to some much bigger videos to come. What did I do? I took advantage of a nice little deal on Amazon and I bought the Warner Archive collection of 4 horror thrillers, as they're termed on the packaging here. Now, these are films I have discussed before. In the case of one of them, which would be Wolfen, right there, I've reviewed it and discussed it. The movie, the book, the music, everything about it many, many times. But the other 3 you see here, Innocent Blood from John Landis, 1992. Modern day vampire vigilante takes on mobsters. It's great. It's unsung. I've never reviewed that movie, and I thought I've always meant to do it, so now I can. But I've had the movie, but not on Blu-ray. Hence, well, collection. Yeah, I'll buy that collection. But not only that, we have Body Snatchers as well. That's the Abel Ferrara take on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 3rd adaptation of Jack Finney's classic novel, The Body Snatchers. And the first 2 movies, 1950s one by Don Siegel, which is terrific, I've discussed that. The 1978 one by Philip Kaufman with Donald Sutherland and Leonard Nimoy and Jeff Goldblum. I've covered that a lot, massive in-depth review, but I've never covered this version, and we're going to. I'm going to talk more about these as the video progresses. And the other film is Tony Scott's 1983 movie, The Hunger. Again, a Whitley Strieber adaptation. Whitley Strieber wrote Wolfen, he wrote The Hunger. And it's a film which, that particular film, I have not seen since the days of VHS. Because I don't think I actually have a copy of that that's viewable. I had it on VHS, loved it at the time, thought it was very slow, atmospheric, very cool, very stylish. It's Susan Sarandon, Catherine Deneuve, and David Bowie's in there as well. And the great Dan Hedaya is there as well. I thought, I've always wanted, well, that was the kind of clincher. I've always wanted to review Body Snatchers and Innocent Blood on the channel, but never had the chance to do it because I didn't have a good enough copy to watch to warrant it. And I didn't have any watchable version of The Hunger, and now I have them alongside my absolute favourite, Wolfen. So you can expect full reviews of each. Well, not Wolfen obviously because I've done that, but Can always talk about it some more though, can't I? But Innocent Blood, John Landis, he'd done American Werewolf in London. Now, I have got the soundtrack to this by Ira Newborn. Although like American Werewolf, it actually has a soundtrack of other music, appropriate music, you know, sort of Moonlight and Vampire sort of things with the word bite in it. A bit like the whole sort of full moon and werewolf aspect to the songs put into American Werewolf. But like American Werewolf, there was a score by Elmer Bernstein, which is glorious. You've heard me play it a lot. But for this, it's Ira Newborn. And what he did, because the film was set in Mobland in Pittsburgh, with Anna, what's her name? Parallel. I forget how to pronounce it in French. She was La Femme Nikita, you know, and great actress, very easy on the eye. And she plays a vampire with a heart of gold. She's righting the wrongs. She's clearing the streets, vigilante style, of the hoodlums and the scumbags and the gangsters. But the score by Ira Newborn is kind of like lounge and jazzy. It's like a cliched OTT version of what you'd expect. But John Landis is never one for like subtlety. So it's really on the nose. And although I've got the score and I put bits of music together for this video, I'm not going to play it because I just don't like it. It doesn't. Jazz speaks to some people. It tells me to fuck off. That's what I hear from it. So it's not for me. But the film Innocent Blood, it's horror comedy, and it works to a degree. You've got Robert Loggia is in there, and as a gangster who becomes a vampire. He gets the bite on him, survives, becomes a vampire, and then starts turning other gangsters into vampires as well, creating an army of the undead. And you've got Anna Parallel, I'm never going to get her name right, with Anthony LaPaglia, who I like a lot. He's a cop, detective in it, so that they team up to try and save the day. And it's not a totally successful mix of horror and comedy. There's plenty of gore and violence in it. It's very tongue-in-cheek. Some of it's a bit slapdash. As I say, John Landis can be very on the nose sometimes. It's a bit too overt and obvious. It was actually a lot gorier to begin with, but you have to trim back a lot of scenes. You know, this is from a guy that, you know, oh, you saw too much of the werewolf in American Werewolf. You barely see it at all. And even when he watches it now, he still wants, oh, should have cut that scene down. You should barely ever see it. No, you should see more. But he did keep the gore in there, didn't he? And this was a lot gorier as well to begin with. But I think it never gets talked about. Not because it's crap. It is not crap. It's actually very enjoyable. It's good entertainment. So I'm going to give it its due. And I've not seen it for a good number of years. So I might see it with fresh eyes. And I might discover, no, actually, they were right. It is crap. Body Snatchers. Oh my God. I love this version. And again, I've not seen it for a long time. Probably because I think for a good while, it didn't hit UK on Blu-ray. And obviously never picked it up. Now, Warner Archive have released all of these films individually in the last few years. And usually sort of HMV exclusives, and they've got like art cards and a mini poster or something like that. But they've done a few of these, sort of boxed them together, you know, a little a quartet of movies. There's been other ones as well throughout the ages. But that was a great little box set. I thought, I'm having that straight away. So this only came out, I think, a week ago. I think it came out. Anyway, but Body Snatchers, unlike the first two adaptations of Finney's novel, one set in a Santa Mira, a sleepy Californian town, everyone knows each other, but then of course overnight the pod people take over, and the pod people have got no emotions. They look like the person you know and love, but they don't act like them. And people sort of going paranoid because they're not the same. They're crazy. They've been taken over. They're not. That's not my husband. And it works in a small town environment. Phil Kaufman's '78 remake or readaptation is outstanding, and it's set in San Francisco during, you know, the mid to late 70s. Flower power, culture, hippies, lots of, you know, new wave culture and subcultures were taken over, but it worked in the big city sort of spectrum, and the paranoia was heightened. the regimented system of the pod people and the rebels who are still holding out, trying not to sleep because they get you when you sleep. It worked. The paranoia was par excellence, and the social commentary was just brilliant. But for Abel Ferrara's version, Abel Ferrara, of course, Driller Killer, Miss 45, King of New York, a few Miami Vice episodes, and a lot of other stuff as well. Doesn't play by the rules, does Abel. No. Hates authority, hates people leaning over his shoulder and watching what he does, and watching the pennies. Takes it to his own thing. And his version isn't quite what he wanted. He did get hampered by studio interference. But the film itself, starring Gabriel Anwar, Forrest Whitaker, J. Lee Ermey, the Marine drill instructor, he's in, and then new career as a great actor in many movies, particularly genre movies, and Meg Tilly, who's outstanding. It's set on an army base in some southern state. I'm not too sure where now. I can't quite remember, but it's a US Army base, and to use that setting, it's dead clever because obviously the pod people act in uniform. They're conformist. They're part of a much greater. You can read communism if you want. Certainly, the original novel and the original movie were very highly based on that sort of concept. Reds under the bed. But to have it on a military base where everyone looks the same and acts the same and jumps when they get told to jump, they obey orders. It's not as easy to work out who's who and who's not who they say they are. So it adds a whole new dimension. Critics at the time didn't like it for that reason. Well, some critics didn't like it for that reason. I loved it. I thought it was a whole new setting, so it did things differently. But what they do add to this, or rather, what they took from the second movie, from the Phil Kaufman version, is the pod scream when they spot someone who's not a pod person. And they do that in it. And it's a nice carryover, because that's one of the most chilling aspects of Kaufman's version, is that pod shriek. And you've got Meg Tilly is outstanding. She looks, when she does the shriek, she plays the mother in it, but she's not. Oh, spoiler alert there. She's a pod mother. And when she does the shriek, it's oh god, it's sphincter tingling. And she has a great sort of mantra as well about you can run but you can't hide. Where are you going to hide? Where are you going to run to? Where can you go when there's no one else like you out there? It's superb the way she delivers it. And you've got Billy Wirth in there as well. Billy Wirth was one of the Lost Boys. He was the one with the, forgive me, obviously David was the one with the, I was going to say Keanu Reeves, and what's his name? Kiefer Sutherland, with his spiky blonde hairdo and all that. Looked uber cool, was uber cool, but Billy Wirth was the one with the big flowing long dark hair. He was the really good looking one, the pretty lost boy. And he's in this as a helicopter pilot and a bit of a hero, but there's a juxtaposition there because he's killed in the first Iraq war, and he's kind of turned his back on the whole thing of the killing ethos, but he's going to have to fight to try to save the remnants of humanity. But it's great. It's a great movie. I've been meaning to. These three movies I've been meaning to discuss for a long time. Innocent Blood, Body Snatchers, and The Hunger. You're hearing the classical music from The Hunger. Tony Scott did it in 1983. Catherine Deneuve, as I said before, David Bowie, Susan Sarandon, lesbian. Not saying that she's a lesbian, but she's a lesbian with Catherine Deneuve in this. And it's set in New York, a lovely, glitzy, highly stylized New York. The club it's seen, and you've got Catherine Deneuve plays this ancient vampire who takes lovers and sort of vampire human hybrids to be her partners. We've seen this in a lot of films since, obviously, like Let the Right One In and many others. Concubines. Puts the bite on them and will infect them. Although it's not done quite the same way. They have an ankh pendant which they slit throats with and all that. But her acolytes, her disciples, they live to a ripe old age, retain their youth, and then once you've had enough of them, that's it, don't need you anymore. And they will age rapidly throughout that day. But they don't die. They can live for eternity, but just old and decrepit. And she just puts them in their coffins, in boxes basically, and keeps them. And then pick someone else. It's a slow movie. It's a very moody, atmospheric film, full of startling images and a dreamy, surreal, almost woozy, very 80s sort of pop video style aura about it. But it's glorious. And I say that the soundtrack is a mixture of classical music. You just heard, well, Acme, the Flower Duet, which I'm going to play it again. To a lot of people, I'll whiz on to the actual vocals. To a lot of people in the UK especially, this piece of beautiful music from an operetta is synonymous with British Airways, because they use this as a sort of an air aria to advertise British Airways, and it worked, you know? And it's glorious, such a beautiful piece. And I think the lesbian seduction scene has Catherine Deneuve playing this at the piano, and then Susan Sarandon spills some wine. No, it's not wine. I think it's sherry, but it's a special blend of sherry on a tight white t-shirt, and starts to dab at it. And of course, one thing leads to another, and then you hear the full, well, rendition as the seduction takes place. So obviously, Catherine Deneuve's character starts taking on Susan Sarandon as her next partner. It got a lot of critical praise at the time, but also a bit of a lambasting. Fans, it's got loyal fans now, a bit of a cult following, as all these films have, to be honest, including Wolfen. But critics loved its style, and it's a different take. Again, this is a Whitley Strieber novel, like Wolfen, and but fans at the time were like, it's too slow, it's deathly boring, nothing happens in it. Well, I think lots happen in it. Even as I've only a young teenager when this came out, and I loved it. I thought it took me on a journey which I hadn't expected. And I haven't seen it for, God, let's think. The last time I would have seen The Hunger would have been on VHS, and would have been probably in the early 90s. So we're talking a long time ago. And again, maybe like Body Snatchers and Innocent Blood, I might see them in a whole new light. I doubt it. These are films I haven't forgotten, and I haven't forgotten the impact they had on me at the time. And Wolfen, of course. Well, I'm not going to go into that because I've said everything I can about that. Michael Wadley directed it in 1981. The original was a 4-hour cut, then a 3.5-hour cut, then a 3-hour cut, then a 2.5-hour cut. And basically, Michael Wadley, the director of the film Woodstock, so he's got some very hip, liberal credentials. He had took one meagre small aspect of Strieber's novel about the plight of Native Americans and how they were pushed alongside the Genocide Express, alongside wolves, when the white colonization, the European colonization of North America took place. So he rode with that. So in the film, they could be, well, they're not, but they could be shapeshifters. The Native Americans definitely think that they can shapeshift, but are they just taking the piss out of Albert Finney, who's the detective in charge of the investigation into a bunch of savage, brutal murders by a pack of super intelligent wolves known as Wolfen? Oh, just realised. No, I haven't just realised that I'm wearing it. I put it on deliberately, but I forgot I was wearing it. It's just water, folks. I've yet to compliment all the carbs I've filled up my body with lager and beer and a few whiskies, maybe even a pint of cider, because it's lovely and hot again today. Despite what the forecast said, it's glorious yet again. But Wolfen, yeah, Wadley's original version has more killings in it, but it also goes off on a wild socio-political tangent and really explore more the Native American aspect and urban terrorism, and to the detriment of the wolf horror story. So I can understand why it got cut down, but there's still many scenes which I would love to see. I have the Japanese program for Wolfen, and in that there are lots and lots of pictures of scenes which aren't in the movie. We know that John Hancock director John Hancock, who was actually on Jaws 2 and then got ousted because they didn't like his version of Jaws 2. And only one shot of his remains in the finished movie. I've discussed all this before as well. They brought in Jeannot Swark to take over. So he got his revenge. Well, I got kicked off that, but I got brought in when he kicked off Michael Wadley, and he chopped the film down and re-edited it. So the original score by Craig Safan, which I've got as well, which is great, icy, prickly, very cold, bit quite tribal as well in aspect, but frightening and sort of isolating and alienating. Well, his score didn't fit the film once it was chopped down, so his score got rejected, and he brought in James Horner. Does that not sound like Annie Lennox? This is from The Hunger. I'm playing the Hunger score. Michael Rubini did this, but that is Annie Lennox's voice. I don't know for definite if it is, but that's gotta be Annie Lennox. And they've got David Bowie in there. They were friends. It's gotta be, hasn't it? It's gotta be. So they brought in James Horner. I'm skipping around these films, aren't I? Keep up. They brought in James Horner at the last minute, who did a glorious score for Wolfen, which I love. Safan's original score, but I know the film with James Horner's score, which is beautiful, frightening. The danger motifs in there. Loads of his Hornerisms are in there, but it's achingly gorgeous, really tragic, haunting, melancholy, but exciting as well. So Wolfen is it's a great movie. It really is. It's a great novel. I've discussed that many times. So anyway, I'm going to cover everything except for Wolfen. You guys know damn well I'm going to cover Wolfen again at some point. But so next week or so, you're going to get those 3 reviews. I'm having terrible difficulty talking. I've probably still got bits of pasta and tuna wedged in my teeth. So, Innocent Blood, Body Snatchers, The Hunger. Yeah, a triumvirate of horrors, reimaginings. There's a bit of blurb on the back of this that they put in. Old frights, new visions, and Christ, that writing's really small. Classic horror movie creatures get stylish updates in this quartet of demonic frights from 4 visionary directors. Wolfen adds an ecological twist to Whitley Strieber's urban blight commentary on a pack of lycanthropes defending its territory. The Hunger brings an art house aesthetic to Strieber's revisionist vampire saga. This sexy tale will leave you hungry for more. Innocent Blood. Innocent Blood defies standard sensibilities by adding a vigilante vampire to the cops and mobsters genre and ups the body count. Body Snatchers combines teenage alienation, body horror, and government paranoia with alien invaders. Don't sleep. You won't want to after watching this. Fucking hell. That was a struggle, wasn't it? I can't even speak, let alone read. Special features. The Hunger has a commentary by Susan Sarandon and director Tony Scott. Now, The Hunger, I didn't have that on DVD, but if that's the same commentary which I know was on previous releases, they're not speaking together. Well, Tony Scott's gone now, hasn't he? Tony Scott committed suicide. Oh God, is it about 10 years ago now? Horrible thing about that, Ridley Scott's brother, of course. He had just been to his doctor and had clearly received bad news, and then drove to a bridge. I think it was San Francisco as well. Was it San Francisco? Yeah, I think it was. And jumped off the bridge. So yeah, tragic story. But I think the commentary itself, they're both recorded separately, and I think he has the lion's share of it. But they're both, as I say, recorded separately and edited together. But that's it, extra features wise. Wolfen has been bigged up many times for various different releases on home video. And they did talk about a commentary with the stars, Albert Finney and Diane Venora. Never happened. No release has ever had that commentary. Whether they did the commentary or not, and for whatever legal reasons, it was never made available. They just couldn't put it out there, because I've got packaging of older releases and it says it's got it. And you got the disc and you go, not on it. This box is lying to me. But they obviously must have pulled it at the last minute, but the packaging, the printing, it's too late to redo it all. So I wonder what that was about. It'll be something legal, obviously. Maybe they were talking about the original version, because obviously the two of them made that full version. Every film is much longer than the version you get to see. And Tony Scott's brother Ridley Scott knows all about that, and then puts out his director's cut or his extended cut further down the line. A lot of directors do that. But even those versions, there would be much longer versions. You cut a film down, you film a lot more than you're going to need. You cover different angles, you try different things, you let the actors improvise. Some effects don't work, you have to bring more effects in. Just things evolve naturally, organically with the film. And then obviously a lot of films, people would say, are made in the editing suite. It's how you cut it down. It's how you get that timing, that pacing, that rhythm just right. And but I would love to see a longer version of Wolfen. I have, again, it's on bloody VHS. Channel 4 in the UK broadcast a version of Wolfen with Thomas Waits, the singer, crooning away in a bar. He plays, although you don't, this is the thing, you barely see him in any version of Wolfen, including this one right here. Although wouldn't it be great? It was a shocker. It was a 4-hour cut by mistake. Imagine that, fully restored. He plays the bar owner, but he's crooning away at the piano. And Diane Venora and Albert Finney have just had, well, they've almost been taken out by the Wolfen, but without knowing what it was. But they know, they're jittery, they know something was coming after them. And they sit in the bar and then they're clearly nervous, they're rattled. But their conversation in the version, which is available across the board, it's a bit truncated because they've had to cut out any shot of Thomas Waits. Thomas Waits is the warrior, and in his windows in the thing, Tom Waits is sitting there playing the piano, but all the shots of him are cut out. You can hear him a little bit in the background, but it does take out a fair bit of conversation. Now Channel 4 broadcast that, and then any version since then has had the scenes cut out again. There are rumours that there's a German Blu-ray that has that scene in it, but I know someone that got the German Blu-ray and it wasn't in there, so I didn't buy it. Someone else is going to go, oh no, it wasn't the German, it was the Italian one. Well, maybe. One day, someone with enough dough will try to track down all the scenes that were cut out of that, and maybe bring Michael Wadley back and try to, can you do this? It's almost, for me, it's like people, the Holy Grail of The Keep, Michael Mann's The Keep, which you're never going to see a full version of that. You just can't, because the footage isn't there. And the footage that does remain is god awful. And even if you did the fantastic, you got Merlin in to work some Excalibur style magic on it to restore the quality, the film still wouldn't make any sense. It'd still jump around and it'd still be massively shorter than what you want. You wouldn't get the payoff. So you're never going to get Mann's original vision of The Keep unless he bloody well remade it himself. Likewise, I doubt you'll ever get Michael Wadley's full version of Wolfen. Now, I wasn't going to talk about Wolfen, was I? I've spent most of the time talking about Wolfen, but there you go. It's my favourite. So anyway, there you go. This is available now. So if you guys haven't got any of these films, I got it in a deal. I got it for like 16 quid. I think it's about 24, 25 normally. And the reason why I didn't pick it up straight away, Amazon didn't get their copies of it last week when it was officially due out. They didn't turn up, so I had to wait. Anyway, we have it now, and we'll get cracking. Well, not just yet. I'm going to go out and get pissed first. But let's just play. Hey, tell you what I'll do. Body Snatchers has a great main theme, which you're hearing right now, by, I forgot the guy's name now. Did I write this down? Joe Delia. It's a nice sort of down the road from John Carpenter's sort of theme. It's a beat, it's metronomic, it's relentless, it's minimal. I like it. I think it's a great theme. Anthony LaPaglia in God, which one is it? Innocent Blood, playing the cop. He's, although you think he's like Italian American, he's actually, isn't he Australian? And I think he's a great actor. He appeared in Frasier, playing Daphne Moon's brother, Stephen, I think his name was, in it. And Simon. Now, Daphne Moon, played by Jane Leeves, who is English, used to be on Benny Hill as well. She is meant to be from Manchester, and she does affect a northern accent pretty well, even though she's from Essex. But Anthony LaPaglia, who's put on a fair bit of weight, maybe he's had breakfast at our house at the Kilt-Man, he's put on a bit of weight since making this movie. And he's uncouth, obnoxious, and he's a complete pisshead. He's out on the Raz, partying and living on people's sofas all the time, put his feet on the coffee tables, doesn't give a shit. Like, LaPaglia is brilliant, and he does a really good accent. It's not Mancunian, it's a Cockney accent, but it works. You wouldn't think that he was mostly, an American film star, although albeit born in Australia. And he's wonderful. But then again, in that same series, another one of their brothers was played by Robbie Coltrane, Hagrid, who's broad bloody Scottish, And he made a point out of that you couldn't understand a word he said. You'd just be going, oh yes, oh yeah, let's get it, I go, yeah. They go, yes, it is a nice view, isn't it? So there was nothing Mancunian about his accents either. I love Frasier though. And LaPaglia, playing an irritating character who's in it quite a lot in the later series. He's brilliant. He grows on you as an irritating rash, basically, which you have to get used to. Right, folks, another brief video there for you. So, Innocent Blood, The Hunger, Body Snatchers, and we'll talk more about Wolfen again, I'm sure. So in the meantime, in this ever Warner Archives 4 movie collections, in between time, please keep it Kilty, keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all later. And I've just thought, I've got to reach over there and press stop, and I bet you that's going to cause a problem with the blue tack piled up there. Wish me luck, folks. We're going in.